Welcome to the live performance of 13 Seconds in Kent State, Episode 4 from the Outcasts Creative. Please do subscribe to our channel for future online performances and video blogs. During the live performance, 2 cast members will act as cover for any members of the company who experience technical difficulties. Should the performance be halted for any reason, we will attempt to resume it as soon as possible. The following story is based on events that took place between 1970 and 1975 in the state of Ohio. It is based on eyewitness accounts, interviews, transcripts, and written testimony. Several characters and events have been combined to simplify the narrative and for dramatic purposes.
Hey, I'm Sandy. And I guess I'm going to be guiding you through the next part of this story. You know, I nearly didn't go to Kent State University. My parents, they wanted me to go to Stanford out in California. We had some family out there, but truth be told, I just wasn't ready to go so far away from home just yet. And Kent, it was just up the Ohio Turnpike. You see, back then, me and my mom were real close. And I just wanted to know that I could pop home for regular visits whenever I wanted. Although I needn't worry. My mom, she would make any excuse to come and see me. My father, he was the quieter of the two. But if he had something to say, it was always worth paying attention. As a Jewish man, he had fled from Hitler's Germany to the United States in 1935. He secured employment in Youngstown, Ohio, met my mom, and soon after they had 2 girls, me and my sister Audrey. Well, we were Ohio girls born and bred. By the time I was moving out to university, she'd already got married and left the roost, but we were still so close and we spoke on the phone all the time. My dad, he didn't speak too much about the war in Vietnam. And honestly, I didn't ask too many questions. I was more concerned about the child with the stutter in my hometown than I was what was going overseas. See, I was training to become a speech therapist, and I just wanted to work with kids. I always looked for the positive things in life, and my favorite thing to do was to make my friends laugh. I remember the first time my parents dropped me back to Kent State, on the account of me not having a car and all. They got me this little apartment just outside campus, and I loved it, despite it not having a TV set, but whatever. Life was just a sense of endless possibilities at that point.
Here we are, right on time. I still can't believe you chose Kent over California. I mean, it's 80 degrees out there every day, and that's in the winter. It would have been so much warmer.
I know, but if I'd have gone to Stanford, I couldn't have come home during term time, Dad. You couldn't exactly have just dropped me back to California, now could you?
I think what your father is trying to say in his usual roundabout kind of way is that we're both grateful that you stay closer to home. Aren't we, dear?
Yes, most grateful. Wer mag die Sonne?
What was that, Dad? My German's still a little rusty.
Never mind. But don't be bringing too many boys home, okay? I mean, no rush to be a grandfather for the second time. How's the apartment?
Oh, it's great, Dad. I love having somewhere to cook for my friends.
Well, it should give you somewhere quieter to focus on your studies, away from the hullabaloo of campus.
Hullabaloo? Dad, no one uses that word anymore.
Really? I think it's a very underrated word in the English language. Besides, your mother uses it every time I cook in the kitchen.
Well, it does feel very appropriate under those circumstances.
Has Dad been creating a hullabaloo in the kitchen again, Mom?
He has a bit, yes.
She complains, but she can't get enough of my schnitzel.
Oh, Martin. Well, listen, when you come back next, we can plan what you want to do for your 21st in August.
Sure, yeah, I hadn't even thought about that yet.
Well, I'm sure we can think of something nice. Maybe we could go to the lake for the day or even drive up to Buffalo and go and see Niagara Falls.
Yeah, that sounds great. Can I bring someone with me?
Ah, a young man, perhaps?
Oh, Martin, don't be so nosy. So who is it, hon? Marty or Bruce?
No. Bruce is doing his own thing now, Mom. I told you. And it's not Marty. Look, it all sounds good, and I'll let you know, okay?
We'd better be getting back, dear, if we want to miss the traffic.
Oh, okay. You be sure to call us if you need anything at all.
I will, Mom. Tell Odds to write me and give her the number for my apartment, okay?
We will. Bye, honey.
Bye. So, it was 5 years later when they found themselves in the middle of the wrongful death suit of Krause versus Rhodes in that Cleveland, Ohio courtroom in the long, hot summer of 1975. Jaws was the #1 film in the American box office at the time, while the British, they were busy being entertained by a film called Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I guess you could say the 70s was a decade of achievements. NASA launched the first Viking probe to Mars, and the docking in space between the craft of two nations, Russia and the United States, was a success. Towards the end of the decade, our British cousins, they even welcomed in their first female prime minister. Although I'm not so sure how that worked out, but there was still a sense that anything seemed possible. Anything, that was, except impartiality in an American courtroom. It was several weeks into the trial by the time the 9 wounded students took to the stand. For some, like James Russell and John Cleary, their cross-examination was relatively uneventful compared to that of Alan Canfora. Tom Grace had just got back from Ireland to give his evidence. When he saw Robbie Stamps on the stand, he did not like what he saw.
Hear ye. Courtroom #1, Cleveland, in the good old state of Ohio, is now in session. Judge J.D. Young presiding.
Be seated, please. Mrs. Stamps, please retake the stand. And Mr. Brown, are you ready to continue with your cross-examination of the witness?
We are, Your Honor.
Do proceed, sir. And I will remind you, Mr. Stamps, that you're still under oath.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Stamps, you were telling us about how you took part in a demonstration against the Guards' presence on the university.
I went to see what was going on, but I had a psychology class at 1 p.m., so I wasn't planning on staying long.
But you did stay on the Commons.
Briefly, but I was gassed with tear gas, and I had to go and use the bathroom in the apprentice hall to wipe my eyes.
And then?
I came back into the parking lot when I was shot.
And what were you carrying with you, Mr. Stamps, when you came back into that lot?
Well, I'm not sure I follow.
Rocks, golf balls, maybe a different weapon that you had retrieved.
Oh, nope. I remember exactly what I was carrying that day. My books for class, a bag of potato chips, and 2 pretzels, one of which I was handing to a friend of mine when I was shot.
Are you sure you weren't handing her something else?
Objection. Asked and answered, Your Honor.
Sustained.
A pretzel. I see. Mr. Stamps, you've attended a number of rallies, for example, the one in Washington.
Objection. How is this relevant to the events of May 4th?
It goes to the credibility of the witness, Your Honor.
Overruled. The witness will answer.
Yes, I did.
And you've also attended rallies for peace for Israel, have you not?
Objection. Your Honor, does the Jewish faith of the witness make him any less credible?
Sustained.
Mr. Stamps, after you attended the rally on Monday, May 4th, a search of your dormitory room conducted by Highway Patrol revealed a letter that you had written that very night.
Your Honor, I object. Mr. Kelner and I have already presented you with a motion on this piece of evidence found during an illegal search, and Mr. Brown over there knows damn well that he shouldn't have brought it up.
Well, excuse me, Mr. Kelner.
No, I don't think I will. Why don't you go practice scraping your chair? See if you can distract the juror's attention again, yeah?
Parties approach the bench. Mr. Kelner, I am well aware of the motions filed in my courtroom, and I have yet to rule on one that you and Mr. Kelner presented to me at the 11th hour this morning.
Well, that's how they do things back east, Your Honor.
Regardless of how you may rule, Your Honor, the real issue here is that the state of mind or political beliefs of a person who was hundreds of feet away from the guard, holding a pretzel no less when he was shot, has no relevance to the issues of this case.
The political belief of the witness is a legitimate line of inquiry because it may throw light on their credibility, Mr. Kelner. And like it or not, this trial revolves around political issues.
I don't really see it, Judge. And I don't think you can come in on the credibility of a witness.
I think you can. These are proper questions, and you, Mr. Kelner, have no right to interrupt them.
What about the First Amendment rights of the plaintiffs, Your Honor?
I have to consider the rights of everyone in this courtroom, Mr. Kelner. Now I have made my ruling.
Joe, I thought you told us not to get angry, Joe.
I did. I didn't say I wouldn't.
Please continue, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Stamps, have you ever made a statement about police being pigs or having beaten you up?
Yes, I have.
Were you receiving psychiatric care in May 1970?
No, I was not.
God almighty, this is outrageous.
One more outburst like that, and I shall have you removed from my courtroom. Continue, Mr. Brown.
Mr. Stamps, soon after the events of May 4th, somebody smeared blood on the door of your dormitory. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And did the perpetrators of this act ever call you a communist or a commie sympathizer?
Yes, sir, they did.
This is a whole heap of bullshit.
We're finished with this one, Your Honor.
Call your next witness, then.
Like some of my blood brothers from Kent State, I didn't have such a rough time on the stand. Our good Mr. Brown probably figured the less time the jury looked at me in my wheelchair, the better. The most politically active I'd even been before May 4th was when I got back to Kent on Sunday, when I joined a group of students who went up to President White's house that night. We'd been promised that Mayor Satrom and White would meet with us, only to find ourselves tear-gassed by the guard and chased away by men with bayonets. Needless to say, when I got back to my dorm and called my mom, I was pretty upset. Mom, they lied to us.
Dean, who lied? Are you all right?
The guard, the university, they tear-gassed us, Mom.
Oh, God, I told your father when he saw those guards on your campus, he should have brought you straight home.
I'm okay, Mom. I just can't believe what they did to us.
Dean, all right? Dean, be careful. And if things get any worse,
I will.
You come home.
I will, Mom. Home. If only I had. Back in that courtroom, anyone who had acknowledged that they even had a passing association with the anti-war movement knew they were going to be in for a rough time. All I could do was sit and watch.
We call Alan Canfora to the stand.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Oh, I certainly do, unlike some people around here.
You attended a number of rallies before May 1970, is that right?
Yeah, I've been to a few.
Did you go to the Peace March in Washington, November 69?
Yes, I did.
You weren't registered to vote, though, were you, in 1970, Mr. Canfora?
No, I wasn't.
Some people might say the more appropriate means of protest is through the ballot box.
Well, some might say that both the ballot box and protesting are legitimate means of expressing our democratic freedoms in this country. At least until somebody like you tries to make them illegal, too.
Mr. Canfora, you were photographed numerous times on Monday, May 4th, as you will see in the photographs behind me. You were seen taunting the guard and carrying a black flag?
Well, yes, I was carrying a black flag, and I believe that is me in the photographs, yes.
Now, if we look at this photograph...
Objection, Your Honor. Surely the photographs speak for themselves.
Yeah, Mr. Brown, the jury may look at them later.
Very well. Mr. Canfora, why did you carry a black flag?
Oh, I left my pink flag at home.
Are you a political activist, Mr. Canfora?
Yes, I was. And I was quite active at that time. You see, I very recently attended the funeral of a very good friend of mine. He was killed in Vietnam the week before.
You were present at the burning of the ROTC building, correct?
I saw it burning.
You're a student at KSU. You see a building on campus ablaze. Why do you do nothing to fight this fire?
People wish to remain quiet in my courtroom. They will do it quietly.
I am not a trained firefighter any more than I am a lawyer.
Have you ever had a rock or anything thrown at you by a crowd, a hostile crowd?
No, I don't think so.
Have you suffered an assault of any kind?
Yes, I have been shot.
On Monday, May 4th, prior to you being shot, Mr. Canfora, you were seen throwing stones at the guard.
I threw a single stone, and I would like to add that I missed by quite some distance.
Would you say it was about this size?
No, much smaller, less than half that size.
So we can say about this size.
No, I'm not sure what they teach you about physics in law school, but that rock is actually bigger than the previous one.
Perhaps you should find a smaller rock, Mr. Brown.
Perhaps Mr. Canfora can tell the court and the jury why he was throwing rocks at the guard in the first place.
I threw it as a gesture of frustration towards the National Guard. I did not intend to hit anybody or injure them, and it fell far short of them anyway.
So throwing a rock, this is the gesture of a pacifist.
It is a gesture of anger that I felt after being tear gassed and chased with bayonets.
Not everyone had it that tough on the stand. But Alan and Tom Grace, they had it the worst. That evening, back at base camp, no one was happy with Joe Kelner. Kelner's son, Robert, he entered just in time to hear the heated debate of the week's events.
Joe, if they're going to be able to ask us questions about our political beliefs, then you should ask the next one of those murderers to take the stand whether they believe the kids with long hair ought to be shot.
Why'd you ask them what their opinion of the My Lai massacre is?
Oh, he can't do that. I think Joe is doing a good job. He is showing them how the trial should be conducted.
That won't matter a damn if we lose the case, Robbie.
Oh, I had a tough time on the stand too, okay? You and Alan weren't the only ones.
Look, we're doing everything we can to get the truth heard by the jury.
Well, you still don't see it, do you? No one in that courtroom cares. That judge works for the state of Ohio, and we are trying to put the blame for the shootings on his boss.
I've only been back for 1 day, and even I can see they're in collusion. The judge and the governor, they must be.
Oh, maybe, but we can't prove that.
Yeah, but we all know it's true, don't we? Brown and his team know it, and you can bet the guard and the governor damn sure know it too.
Even if that were true, Alan, there isn't anything we can do about it at this stage.
That is your solution to everything. Do nothing while we are the ones on trial in the courtroom. Not them, us.
This whole trial has been a complete farce from start to finish.
Listen, everyone. Let's all calm down. No one ever said this was going to be easy. When we all say a prayer.
Christ, I wish I'd never come back. I'm leaving.
Well, hold up, Tom Grace. I'm coming.
Guys,
Listen, Joe, I'll talk to them. I'll give them some spiritual guidance.
Mr. Kelner, I might not agree with Alan on everything, but even I can see we're not in a fair fight in that courtroom. You're going to have to do something.
I can see it's been a tough week. So why don't we all take the weekend, let off some steam. We'll be looking at motions we can file to stop all this from continuing. But guys, we are on your side, okay? You got a lot of friends in this room, so come on, please. Let's try not to play into the hands of the enemy.
See you, Joe.
I'll see you Monday, Joe.
Hi, guys.
Thanks, Joe.
Look, Joe, we know you're doing your very best for us all. And I'm actually looking forward to having my chance to testify next week. And I know Florrie is too.
Thank you. You know, I just wish that someone had told me I was entering this ring. And when they told me that I was going to be doing so with both hands tied behind my back.
You'll just have to learn to headbutt the bastards, Joe. See you Monday, okay?
Okay, bye.
See, my arrival was well-timed, Dad.
Yeah, well, some of them had it pretty rough on the stand this week, Bob.
I saw.
Right. Who wants some coffee?
Yeah.
Right here, make it Irish.
Yeah, make mine a double. I hate to say it, but that kid is right. With the judge ruling against us at every turn, the way it's going for every one of our witnesses is being crucified on the stand.
Yeah, well, we still haven't been able to get the Matson Frazina letter read out for the jury.
How crucial is it for us?
Against Governor Rhodes, I'd say it's critical.
Yeah, it's the key to the question of who actually had legal control of the campus. Robert Matson, the vice president for student affairs, he's left in charge. Matson is co-author of the letter.
So the question of who controlled campus hinges on that letter.
Well, that and the two other events.
The Sunday meeting where Governor Rhodes makes his stance plain on the students' behavior, and the Monday meeting with General Canterbury where he makes the decision to disperse the Monday noon rally.
So if you don't bring out the letter, can't we bring out the dialogues of the meetings that established that Rhodes was declaring himself authority on the campus?
It's the letter that declares effectively martial law on campus, but Governor Rhodes is saying it was Matson's decision.
Right, but Matson claims that he was instructed on the contents of the letter by Major Smith, who said he had consulted with senior officers.
Galen, would you remind me of the gist of this letter again?
Sure. Okay. The destruction of property and the disruption of the last 2 days has led to the governor's imposition of a state of emergency encompassing both the city of Kent and the university. The governor, through the National Guard, has assumed legal control of the campus and the city of Kent and has established the following. 1, prohibited all forms of outdoor demonstrations and rallies, peaceful or otherwise.
There it is.
And 2, empowered the National Guards to make arrests. 3, a curfew is in effect off campus from 8 p.m. and on campus from 1 a.m., ordered by the National Guard. The above will remain in effect until altered or removed by the governor.
Okay, how does that letter not describe a state of martial law decided upon by the governor?
Because it wasn't signed by Rhodes.
So the jury needs to see it.
And of course, the judge thinks the letter speaks for itself.
Itself, right. Well, what about President Robert White? Why didn't he reassert his authority when he got back to campus on the Sunday?
Because as soon as the Guard entered the university, there was only one authority on that campus, and Governor Rhodes was its commander-in-chief.
So on the dock, how do you get Rhodes to admit that?
We don't. We drop our case against General Del Corso, but we cross-examine him as a military expert. We do that, and he can't be impeaching himself, and that will leave the way open for him to testify that through General Canterbury, Rhodes had overall control of the situation.
Giving them both the chance to say that Rhodes was in control.
I like it, Dad. Well, that way we can't lose, because if Canterbury and Del Corso established that their chain of command came from the governor and he denies it, well, they all look inept. And if he agrees, well, he admits Rhodes had overall control of the campus. Love it!
What if Del Corso doesn't go for it, Joe?
Well, if he gives answers that are different from what he told the grand jury, then I can bring in his previous testimony, and he'll have to either admit to his earlier testimony or lie under oath. I've been watching him every day in court, and he's nervous. He doesn't fraternize with Rhodes and their lawyers as much as the others, and as witness, he was present at all the key events.
He was at the meeting at the Kent State Firehouse on the Sunday, but we still have Michael Delaney to testify what happened there.
It seems a shame to let General Del Corso go. He's the one who tried to start that rumor that the sniper firing first at the guard.
I know, but it's our best shot at tying the governor directly to all the events. Now, does anyone disagree? Because I'm open to ideas.
One of the privileges of rank, Joe. But you get my vote.
Okay, Mr. Del Corso. Time to get you in the box.
Mr. Sindel, will you call your next witness then?
Your Honor, we call General Del Corso to the stand.
Mr. Del Corso, you're a soldier with a record of some experience, are you not?
I have seen my fair share of war, yes, sir.
Well, I believe you've seen action from Guadalcanal, the Philippines, Korea, and South Vietnam.
Yes, that is correct.
Mr. Del Corso, we've heard from Sergeant Hirschler and others about this policy of weapon swapping that went on between members of the Guard. Was that a common practice?
Not that I was aware of, and it is certainly against regulations. You're taught in the military that you should take good care of your weapon, and it'll take care of you.
All right, well, based on your years of experience of crowd control, isn't it true that you might expect that a certain percentage of any crowd will be made up of bystanders, passers-by, and other people innocent of any criminal act?
Objection, Your Honor. He's getting into opinion testimony to respect acts he wasn't there to witness.
He was there.
You may answer.
Yes, you could expect that. Yes, sir.
General Canterbury had said to you that the closest student to him was about 20 yards away.
I recall something about 20 yards, but I don't recall exactly what was said.
Well, from the many photographers you've seen on May 4th, would you say they depict the guard being surrounded by hordes of students?
No, I would not.
Do you believe there was any sniper fire or firing of any kind before the guard opened fire?
There was no sniper fire before the shootings began. No, sir.
Mr. Del Corso, you'll recall the newspaper, The Plain Dealer, that ran an article quoting you sometime after the shootings at Kent?
Yes, I do.
Well, the article states that you were quoted from previous testimony as saying the shootings at Kent were unjustified, no less than 16 times.
I can't recall the exact number, but I would have said something to that effect, yes, sir.
So in your view, as a professional soldier, the actions of the guard on May 4th were unjustifiable?
Well,
Objection! Mr. Kelner is once again attempting to impeach another witness, Your Honor.
Yes, Mr. Kelner, I hope you are not intended to try and impeach this witness by using his grand jury testimony against him.
Your Honor, we've already dropped our charges against the witness. But Mr. Del Corso is an expert in this area, and I think all of his opinions, whenever they're expressed, are relevant.
Well, I think making an expert of this witness will confuse the jury, and you will have to frame hypothetical questions to do so.
I'm quite happy to do that, Judge.
You cannot make him an expert over his own counsel's objections.
Oh, sir, in New York, which I'm sure the opposing counsel will be only too happy to remind you that I'm from, it is quite common to call doctor defendants as experts in malpractice cases. I wasn't aware it was any different in Ohio, Your Honor.
And in Ohio, Mr. Kelner, the word of the judge is final. Objection sustained.
I can't hear you, Fred. I'm the acoustic.
The Ohio Court of Appeals, Your Honor, ruled in 1965, and I quote, "The examining party is allowed to compel all testimony relevant to the issues of a case." Under the new rules that came into effect July 1st of this year, the testimony of federal grand jury can be admitted.
Mr. Sindel, I am well aware of that, but I do not intend to bind this court to such rules because of trivial variation of language between what a witness says at one hearing and what they say at another.
I think the difference is maybe more than trivial, Your Honor, and I ask that Mr. Del Corso's grand jury testimony be put on the record.
I don't think that would be in the interest of justice.
There is no justice in this courtroom.
However, Mr. Kelner, due to the hour, I think we will recess for lunch, during which time you may read Mr. Del Corso's statement into the trial transcript and let the court report a star.
Sure is a beautiful day. It's nice here down by the river. Maybe after the trial, we could move here.
Oh my God, Libby, you're not serious.
Of course I'm not. To be honest, I'm just glad to get us out of the apartment for 2 minutes. Even you need to take a break.
Yeah, well, after our judge's ruling on General Del Corso's grand jury testimony, I have to agree with those 9 young men I'm defending. I don't think we can win in there.
So what are you gonna do? Concede?
No, you know I'll never do that. I just wonder what I'm doing spending these fine days of summer in a hostile courtroom so far from home.
You're doing what you do best.
What's that?
Standing up for what you believe in.
The luxuries of principles, huh?
The most important quality in a man. If you hadn't had any, I wouldn't have married you.
I shall do my best to hang on to the ones I have then.
You be sure to do that.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please be seated, General.
Thank you, Judge.
Mr. Canterbury, on May 4th, what did you consider yours and the mission of the Guard to be?
To disperse the noon student rally on the Commons.
Even if it were peaceful?
If it were peaceful or not.
Well, the previous day, you presided over the meeting where the decision was reached to disperse the noon rally.
Oh, well, I wouldn't say that. Vice President Madsen was there, along with other representatives from various government agencies and Governor Rhodes.
But did President White specifically ask you to disperse any assembly, peaceful or otherwise?
Well, I asked President White if the assembly that day was to be permitted, and he answered that he thought it could be highly dangerous.
Well, we'll certainly ask him about that. But in his previous evidence, he understood that affairs on campus were out of his hands.
Well, he was involved in all the discussions that took place.
Well, did he say he wanted you and the Guard to disperse it or not?
I have given you the total of that conversation.
Well, did you discuss it further up the chain of command?
Further up the chain of command? I'm not sure I follow.
With Governor Rhodes. He was your highest authority, was he not?
I didn't need to consult with the governor. The contents of the letter, as they were put to me at the time, stated that assemblies on the campus had been banned.
Well, who was a senior officer on Kent State campus on May 4th, 1970?
I was.
Right. So you considered yourself in command?
No.
Let's be clear. You were not in the chain of command?
That is correct.
So as the highest ranking officer, did you have any kind of authority?
Yes, to issue missions to the commanders, develop those missions, and to effect the coordination with the authorities.
So who was in command that day?
Let me try and recall. That would be Colonel Fassinger of Troop G, 2nd Squadron, 107th Cavalry, and Major Wallach, who commanded A and B companies of 1st Battalion.
I see. So are you aware of the regulations of Old Plan, the National Guard's regulation concerning crowd control?
Yes, I'm aware.
Well, because paragraph 6FC states that authorizing shooting to disperse a crowd violates the principal riot control rule that minimum force be used.
Let's just cut to the quick, shall we, Counter? I didn't authorize my men to shoot.
Well, don't Army regulations indicate that deadly force should only be taken after all lesser means have been exhausted or unavailable?
And we had employed other means. We fired over 100 rounds of tear gas.
140 rounds.
Oh, congratulations, you can count. Is there a question here, Judge?
Yeah, do you have an actual question, Mr. Kelner?
Yes, I do, Your Honor. The Old Plan regulations deal with a 6-step procedure listed A through to F for dealing with rioters, Mr. Canterbury. Do you recall what they are?
Well, I would have to read over the manual, refresh my memory.
Yeah, well, General, please allow me. Issue a military request to disperse.
And one second. We did that. We did that from the loud hailer from the Jeep.
Okay, let me give them to you. A, riot formation, show of force. B, simple show of physical force. C, arrest and detain key individuals. D, rifle butt and bayonet. E, chemicals. We certainly know you use plenty of them. And then finally, weapons. Now, do you think you followed those 6 steps? Do you think your men did?
Yes, we did. Congratulations on knowing your ABC as well, sir. But let me tell you something that you city boys don't seem to understand. When you're in fear of your life and facing a violent, disorderly crowd, each individual will act according to the danger they are presented with.
But you were a military formation, were you not?
Yes, we were.
And men are not supposed to react individually in a military formation. They react to orders, don't they?
Yes, but in certain situations...
and yet you claim you gave no orders to fire.
No, I didn't. But that is not the same as what
Your men still fired, Mr. Canterbury, and they fired because you lost control and you had lost effective command of the situation.
They fired because their lives were in danger, Counter. They fired because we were about to be overrun.
Overrun by whom? By students over 250 feet away in a parking lot? Why didn't your men, so terrified as you claimed, fire towards Taylor Hall, where there was the biggest concentration of students?
They were firing at those rushing up the hill behind us. I saw 2 of them myself, only 20 feet away.
But how could you, sir, when the photographs taken by Howard Ruffner and John Philo clearly show you were facing downhill in the other direction? Mr. Canterbury?
I saw them as I turned.
Only 28 of the men on that hill fired, Mr. Canterbury. How is it that the others, including your own officers, saw no danger?
I don't believe that is the essence of what they told you. We all believed we were in danger.
If your men fired in fear, would they pick out individual targets?
They would fire at the closest threat to their safety.
Then how is it, Mr. Canterbury, that of the 4 victims who died that you say would have been seen as a threat, 3 were in the parking lot and the 4th was at the bottom of the hill?
Well, tragically, they were in the line of fire.
So they were hit by accident?
Tragically, I suspect that was the case.
So your men weren't aiming at specific targets. They just fired in the direction of where they believed the danger was, which would be pretty reckless and contrary to Army regulations, wouldn't it?
I'll say this for the last time, Counter. I don't believe they fired recklessly. End of story.
Well, either your men aimed at specific targets, Mr. Canterbury, like William Schroeder and Sandy Scheuer, hitting them deliberately, or they fired recklessly into a crowd that, as you say, contained passers-by and onlookers and killed them. So which is it, Mr. Canterbury?
You
Objection! Your Honor, this witness cannot comment on the state of mind of the men who fired that day. He has given his answer on this matter.
Yes, sustained.
Finish with it, General, Your Honor.
Well, for the record, Counter, I am no longer a general. I did my duty, sir, and now I am retired.
Yeah. Yeah, you are.
And that's something we can all be grateful for.
Did you see the jury back there?
Oh, they were hanging on your every word. Even that grumpy juror, that Stanley Davis, whatever, looked mesmerized.
That judge's mouth was hanging wide open. Great job, Mr. Kelner.
Really had him in a corner, Joe. I wish Tom had been here to see this.
Oh, don't worry. Tom Grace will be back for the verdict.
Whoa. Let's not get too happy, all right? This isn't over yet, and I wasn't able to strengthen the link in their chain of command to Rhodes in the way I'd hoped.
You okay, ladies?
I'm on the stand tomorrow. Never thought the day would come.
You'll be okay, Mrs. Schroeder.
I'm not nervous, Robert. I'm just worried about saying the right thing for our William. I've waited 5 years to tell his side, to tell people what he was really like. Oh, I want those people on the jury to know that all our children were fine, honest, young people, just standing up for what they believed in.
Excuse me, a message for Mr. Kelner.
I'll take it.
And, I'm looking forward to telling them what a beautiful, caring person my Sandy was.
You're gonna do fine, ladies. I promise. Dad, the judge wants to see you and Fred in chambers right away.
Councillors, now I have decided that the mothers of the deceased, in this case, should not be allowed to make a verbal statement to the jury.
What? Judge, you cannot be serious.
I'm sorry, Mr. Sindel and Mr. Kelner, but I have to agree with Mr. Brown that the testimony of the mothers has, well, too much bearing on any damages that may be awarded, and they can be handled in a separate part of this trial rather than on the liability issues of the actual shootings. Allowing them to speak, well, will be too prejudicial.
Judge, surely if you can allow the defense to relate liability to the political reviews and activities of my clients, then it's only fair that the parents of the dead students be allowed to speak for their loved ones, who cannot speak for themselves.
I don't feel the issue is the same.
If these two women sitting outside there are not allowed to testify to the jury could easily be mistake the conclusions of their silence. I mean, I therefore submit that the four parents should at least be able to state that their children were not members of any organization more dangerous than the Boy Scouts.
Look, I will make a statement to the jury on behalf of your clients, Mr. Kelner, explaining that the fact that they haven't testified is no reflection of them. And I will confirm to the jury that all four of the deceased were registered students at Kent State University. I will also mention William Schroeder's involvement with the ROTC. Now, does that satisfy you, Mr. Kelner?
I think you should direct that question to the mothers sitting behind me in the courtroom, who have been here waiting patiently every day to have their moment in court, Your Honor.
If you wanted proof of just how crooked as a dog's hind leg Judge Young's courtroom was, well, you didn't have to look any further than that ruling, if you ask me. As you can imagine, this was something extremely difficult for my parents to hear, and even more difficult for Mr. Kelner to have to digest. He left the judge's chambers and went and called his wife and son.
Joe? Joe, are you all right? Joe? Joe, talk to me. Are you all right?
I'm just at sixes and sevens here, Libby. I gotta tell you, how can I go back in there and face Elaine or Florence or any of them and look them in the eye when I repeatedly told them after 5 years they get their chance to tell their story, and now that man sitting up there won't let them speak because it might attract too much emotional sympathy? How can we expect them to be unemotional when the men that killed their children are sitting a few feet away? Of course, Judge Young is more than happy to let Fulton rant on about how their children were radical terrorists. I never thought I'd hear myself say this, but there is no justice in that courtroom. None.
Judge Young is just one man. We have to put our faith in the jury. I mean, you always told me that the truth is the strongest weapon.
Yeah, well, the truth is only good when people get to hear it.
Then you must make them hear it. Oh, come on, Joe. You've still got your closing speech and you've yet to get that snake Rhodes on the stand. You need to show the jury who he really is. Oh, Joe, so you might lose this case, but those people in there, they've lost sons and daughters. When this is over, whatever the outcome, I mean, we can walk away, go back to New York and leave all this behind. But those people, they can't do that. They don't have that choice. So we have to stay strong. You have to stay strong for them. Because this case gives them hope. You give them hope. You can see it. It what drives them in life, just as the challenge drives you. So don't you falter now.
You know, Libby, someday you're gonna make one hell of a lawyer.
No, thank you. I think 2 lawyers in this family is quite enough.
Is everything okay, Dad?
Yeah, it's fine. Your mother was just telling me how she wanted to join the firm. Oh, and by the way, they're not gonna let the mother speak.
Are you serious?
Mr. Kelner, I just heard from Mr. Sindel. Is it true? They're really not going to let us speak on behalf of our kids?
The judge just said he'll make a statement on your behalf.
Oh, God. That damn imbecile speaking about my child. I mean, you know my Jeff. And he's as bad as the people in there who are trying to make him out to be some kind of radical terrorist.
Ladies, please, I'm sorry. But I must prepare for the next witness. I'm really sorry.
God, Elaine, I killed her. It's my fault, and now I won't even get my chance to say that I'm sorry. People have to know. They have to know it was me that got her killed.
What are you talking about?
The top, that red blouse, I bought her. She was wearing it the day they were shot. Don't you see? Why else would one of those guardsmen fire at someone so far away?
Sarah, I've said the same thing 100 times. You know, what if I told Jeff not to go to the rally? What if I told him to stay at home all day? I mean, would he have listened to me?
No, but if I hadn't given her that top, they wouldn't have picked her out. I killed her, Elaine. I killed my own daughter.
No, you didn't. Now you listen to me. If there's one side that has blood on their hands, it's their side. It's not on ours. Do you understand me? It's not your fault.
If I had just got her any other color.
No. Look at me. It's not your fault. Now, come on. Look, you and me are going to go across the street and get ourselves a real strong drink.
I would have told my mother the exact same thing if she could have heard me. It wasn't as if that was the only red top that I owned. Most of my wardrobe was red or orange or pink. It pained me to see her blame herself in that way. And it would be years before she was able to let that pain go. Finally, it was the turn of our good university president, White, to take the stand.
Your Honor, we call Robert White to the stand.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do, yes.
Mr. White, you were president of Kent State University at the time we're concerned with, were you not?
Yes, I was. I retired in 1971.
Now, during the events of Friday and Saturday that led up to Mayor Satram calling the governor for assistance, where were you at that time?
Well, I was off campus visiting my brother in Mason City, Iowa.
You knew when you left to visit your brothers that the situation at the university was volatile.
Well, I wouldn't say volatile, but there'd certainly been some protests. But, well, we'd had a protest of one sort of another most every week that year.
So, when you left for Iowa, you had no concerns about your university?
Well, no more than usual, no.
When you flew back to Kent, who met you at the airport?
Well, I was met by Governor Rhodes, and I believe Chief Thompson of the Kent Police may have been there. Well, sounds like we have a bit of a problem, Governor. I'm most grateful for your assistance.
What you have here is a group of radical outside agitators who've come together from all the campuses in Ohio, and they've chosen to descend onto your university.
Look, we'll have to shut the campus down, send all the students home until we get all this sorted out.
No, Bob. You can't give in to the likes of these commie-loving hippies. I'll be giving them what they want. No, you can't open. The guard will handle the rest.
It was made pretty clear to me that we should stay open while the guard will maintain control of the campus.
You attended the mid-morning meeting on May 4th, given by General Canterbury?
Yes.
Who was at that meeting?
Vice President Matson, who had been in charge in my absence.
I wondered if you could inform us something. General Canterbury testified. You said it would be dangerous to permit a rally on Monday on the campus.
No, I did not say that. In fact, I wasn't aware there was going to be a rally until the end of the very meeting.
So, once you became aware, did General Canterbury ask you whether or not you wanted the rally to be dispersed by his men?
I don't recall any such question.
So when the meeting was over, what was your impression of the situation as far as who was in control of the campus?
My understanding was that the earlier established ban on gatherings would continue.
You told the Scranton Commission that you felt events had taken the decisions out of the university's hands.
Oh, yes, I felt I only had control over academic operations on the campus.
So the morning meeting over, did you feel you had no further responsibilities towards the university that day?
No, of course not. I was gravely concerned about the situation.
So you knew a rally was planned for noon. You knew that gatherings were banned, at least as far as the National Guard were concerned. So possessing this knowledge, when the meeting ended at 11:20 a.m., what did you do?
I briefly went to my office and then went to lunch with Vice President Matson and 3 other vice presidents.
Which would have left how many of the senior staff on campus at the time of the shootings?
You see, we thought the Guard were...
How many, Mr. White?
Just the secretarial staff.
Where did you have lunch?
At the Brown Derby restaurant on Main Street, at the east of the campus.
And is it true that you were still there when you heard about the shootings?
Yes.
Is it fair to say, on the basis of what you've told the jury here today, that in your experience on campus, if you let people have their rallies, let off steam, as it were, there normally would be no further disturbances?
Well, generally, yes.
Mr. White, do you regret what happened at your university?
There's not a day gone by that I haven't thought about it. I think it will stay with me for the rest of my life.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
I think we'll adjourn for lunch, and the witness may step down.
Pleases the court, after lunch, we shall hear evidence from Governor Rhodes.
All right.
I don't know how I'm going to contain myself today when that ass of a governor gets on the stand. Ladies, you might have to control me, restrain me.
Well, get in line, Arthur. I wish I could swap places with our good Mr. Kelner in there and give that governor a piece of my mind.
I still can't believe that we didn't get to testify about our William. That judge, he just seems to be making up the laws that suits him.
I have lost all faith in the laws of this country after what I've witnessed in that courthouse.
It's not over yet. I still think the most important thing is that we made a stand on behalf of all of our children and what they believed in.
That damn war has been over a couple of months and they're still bringing bodies home. The thing that went on over there, killing kids, the street executions, burning villages. I mean, what were we doing there if we weren't protecting the people? Whole damn thing was illegal in the first place, if you ask me.
Now you're beginning to sound just like her.
Huh?
Our Allison.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess the spirit of our Allison lives on in me. A little bit. I'm sorry, I can't help it sometimes.
Don't you ever apologize, Arthur. I am certain the truth of that god-awful war will come out in time, and our children will not have died for nothing.
They didn't. I just wish people had known them as the children they were, rather than just some photograph. A photograph of a girl screaming over a river of my son's blood. Yeah, I'd like to find that girl one day. I heard she was a runaway. I've tried to find her, but no one knows where she is.
don't know how you can bear to look at that picture, Elaine. If it was of my William, I just think I'd vomit on the spot.
Well, I just tell myself that's how Jeff looked when he was sleeping. So if I ever see the photograph, I just cut out everything else, and that's all I see. My boy sleeping.
Elaine, if you could bottle that strength and sell it, you'd be one hell of a rich woman.
Well, I don't think I could spare any. Yeah, I'm going to need every ounce I have left to get through today.
Governor Rhodes! Governor Rhodes! Governor!
Governor!
Governor,
Yes.
Governor, how do you feel about having to testify in court today?
Well, I'm happy to do my duty once again for the finest state in the United States of America, Ohio. I'm sure laws of our country will find their way to the truth.
Governor Rhodes!
Do you expect to be exonerated of all charges, Governor Rhodes?
Yes, ma'am, I do. And let me tell you something, young lady. I was called by Mayor Satram himself, and he asked me to bring in the National Guard and restore law and order at college campus and the surrounding community. And that's exactly what we did.
Governor Rhodes, Governor, knowing what you know now, what would you say to the parents who lost their children that day?
You know, what happened to Kent State was a tragedy. I feel for everyone affected by the events of that day. When you break the law, tragedies happen.
Governor, just one more question, Governor.
I'm sorry, everyone. I'm sorry, but I think it's time for this governor to take the witness stand, if you excuse me.
Oh, Martin, I thought you weren't able to come today.
I wouldn't miss today for anything.
Lewis, aren't you working?
No, I got Sam to cover for me. I wouldn't miss this. Should we all go in?
Hey, if you fellas have been for a sneaky drink, you just make sure you invite me next time. Huh?
I think we're all going to need the one after today. Now let's go and see this swine hunter take the stand, huh? Yeah?
If everyone is ready, please call your next witness, Mr. Kelner.
We call the defendant James Rhodes to the stand.
Your Excellency, if you will come forward, the clerk will swear you in.
Governor, or shall I call you Your Excellency?
Governor will be fine.
Is the chair to your liking, Governor?
It is fine, thank you.
Governor, prior to the shootings at Kent State, you believe that students from the SDS, or the Students' Democratic Society, were responsible for making trouble on campus. I believe you said intelligence received from the Ohio Highway Patrol told me that the same group of students were causing the unrest at various campuses, going from one university to the next. Is that what you thought?
I believe it is on record that I had been given information to that effect, yes.
And did you believe those same individuals were responsible for the disturbances at Kent State prior to the weekend of the shootings?
I believe there were 4 members of the SDS released from jail on April the 30th, which would have been right before the disturbances began.
Well, do you recall what connections the FBI investigation found between these 4 students and the events in question?
I do not.
Well, none, if I'm not mistaken.
Is there a point here, Your Honor?
Is there?
Well, I believe I just made it, Your Honor.
Then move along, if you please.
I have 2 proclamations that you signed here to which I would like to refer.
Objection. Those documents have already been entered into evidence.
Yes, I believe they are. Move along, Mr. Kelner.
Mr. Rhodes, had you ever considered that the Guard required special training to prevent the shooting of civilians?
I think the National Guard has operated well. We called the Guard out to other campuses, and at those we had no trouble.
Sir.
No trouble. We had called the Guard out to the Teamsterites, for example.
Mr. Rhodes, I'm going to have to interrupt you because you're not answering the question.
We called the Guard out for riots in Cleveland, Youngstown, Toledo, Akron, and we had no trouble at any of those.
So the answer to my previous question would be no then.
Objection. His answer is what it is.
Sustained. He has given his answer.
Okay, then. At the trucker strike, is it not true that there was some shooting?
At the trucker strike, there was some shooting, yes.
Yes, thank you.
Let him finish, Mr. Kelner.
Yes, the witness may finish his answer.
What I was about to say was we had about 12 mayors at this meeting. They asked me unanimously to call it the Guard, and we did, and we had some extreme violence in the way of shooting. They shot at the Guard, they shot at the highway patrol, they shot at the competitive truckers. They shot at darn near everybody, quite frankly, and the Guard was needed, and I called the Guard out.
Sir, my question is, did you have any trouble with shooting at that particular time with his trucker strike?
And that was his answer! Your Honor, this is ridiculous!
The question has been answered, Mr. Kelner.
I'm trying to ask an explicit question, and I would appreciate a direct answer.
Mr. Kelner, as I have told you from time to time again and again, you're asking questions that do not call for simple and direct answers. If you do not want that kind of an answer, you should not ask that kind of question.
I am not going to stay and watch any more of this so-called fucking justice.
This is some kind of bullshit.
I wasn't allowed to elaborate on my answers when I was in the dock. Is this how it works, Your Honor? One rule for those of us who got shot, and another rule for governors who ordered us all to be executed.
There's another outburst like that, and I will be forced to clear the court. Bailiff, remove those men from my courthouse.
Don't worry, Your Honor, we're leaving.
You had got to do something, Mr. Kelner.
What would you have me do? You want me to stoop to their level?
Oh, come on, to grab a man from the gutter, Joe, you have to get in there with him and pull him out.
Governor Rhodes, on Sunday, May 3rd, you gave a press conference about the situation at Kent, did you not?
I believe I did.
Well, I have a tape recording here of that conference, and if it pleases the court, I'd like to play that tape.
Very well.
The scene here that the city of Kent is facing is probably the most vicious form of campus-oriented violence perpetrated by dissident groups and their allies in the state of Ohio. Now, it ceases to be a problem for just the colleges of Ohio. It is now a problem for the state of Ohio. Now, we're going to put a stop to this for this reason. These same groups we're dealing with here today, and there's 3 or 4 of them, have only one thing in mind. That is to destroy the higher education of Ohio. We cannot continue to set fire to buildings worth $5 and $10 million. Last night, I think we saw all forms of violence, the worst. And when they start taking over our communities, we will use every weapon, government and law enforcement, drive them out of Kent. We have these same groups going from one campus to another, and they're using the state universities funded by the taxpayers of Ohio as sanctuary. And here they definitely make their plans to burn and destroy, throw rocks, the police, the National Guard, the highway patrol. They're worse than the brown shirts and the communist element. The worst sort of people we harbor here in America. Well, that is over with in Ohio. Because even though we are up against the most well-organized, strongest, and militant revolutionary group ever assembled in the history of this country, we will not merely treat the symptom. We will eradicate the problem.
Governor Rhodes, didn't you deliver that speech in a very forceful manner, pounding your fist on the table?
You mean like this?
Oh, that's your best recollection of the manifestation of your feelings at that time, sir?
I didn't think it was a matter of feeling. This was almost a state of war.
A state of war? Yeah, well, could you point me to the specific piece of evidence that states you were dealing with a highly trained and well-trained military group?
Objection. The governor is not an intelligence operative and cannot be expected to remember such details.
Sustained.
Okay, well, very well. I look forward to the defense showing us that document in cross-examination, Your Honor. Mr. Rhodes, you referred to buildings being set on fire that were worth $5 to $10 million. Were there any buildings worth $5 to $10 million that were set on fire at Kent State University?
Our intelligence showed.
No. Not what your intelligence showed. Were there or not?
Well, no, but I would like to amplify what the intelligence showed.
Council will have that opportunity, Mr. Rhodes. You mentioned these groups going from campus to campus, and they use a university funded by the taxpayers as a base for causing trouble, throwing rocks, burning, and so forth.
That's right.
Were you aware that all of those youngsters were actually students registered at Kent State University?
Objection, argumentative.
Sustained.
Are you aware that there were 3 individuals arrested for the burning of the ROTC building on Saturday who may not have been students at all?
Objection, once again, Your Honor, argumentative.
Sustained. Move along.
You refer to the leaders of the Students for a Democratic Society, Student Mobilization, and the Weathermen. Do you have evidence that these groups were engaged in any criminal activities?
I had information from the intelligence sources that they did.
And did you order their arrest if there was such evidence?
Objection, this has no bearing on the governor's role on May 4th.
Sustained.
Did you order an investigation on these organizations of any criminal activities?
Objection.
Sustained.
Do you remember, sir, that elsewhere on the tape recording, you made the following statement? Let me assure everyone that there is no place, there is no sanctuary, no place off limits, and we're going to disperse the crowds.
Yes, I remember.
Did that include dispersal of the crowds, whether they were peaceful or not?
I was referring to the crowds that took over the city of Kent. I think in essence, we were concerned with agitators going from campus to campus and trying to have some control over those crowds. And if we could, we were going to give assistance to local public officials.
Well, as governor, you're heard on the tape to say that you would apply whatever degree of force was necessary to provide protection for the people of Kent and their property.
Yes.
Right. So explain what degree of force you were talking about.
Objection, the answer to that is on the tape, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Did it include shooting people, sir, under any circumstances?
Objection, asked and answered, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Has Mr. Kelner quite finished, Your Honor?
Do you have any other questions not related to this topic for the witness?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
Well, I think we'll take a recess at this time then and reconvene at 2 o'clock. The witness is excused.
The trial was 10 weeks in, and it was hard to watch my parents go through all of that. They were so brave. By the time the court case came around, my sister Audrey, she'd had a little daughter of her own, and they'd moved out to Corpus Christi, so she couldn't attend the trial, but she called my mom all the time, and they were surrounded by friends and family, so they certainly weren't alone. In the fall of 1971, I had 2 cousins try and attend Kent State, but either of them lasted more than a year. It was too hard, they said. The last time that I saw my mother, it was a week before the events of May 4th, 1970. She'd come up for a visit, and she was in a great mood.
Oh, the apartment is looking so nice. Do you have a lot of friends over for dinner?
Yeah, I've had Chick and Marty. I had Jeff over for pasta the other night.
Which one is Jeff?
You know, he's the one I told you about. He's in my art class. I got to know him through Chick, but Mom, he sent me a Valentine card. Check it.
Well, the handwriting is a bit of a giveaway. That makes 4 you got this year, including those that came to the house. My girl's a heartbreaker, all right?
No, I'm not. I'm not. And you told me yourself not to marry the first guy that I dated from high school.
Well, that's true. I did. I'm just glad Bruce went off to college. Not sure how many visits I could have had from him back home looking like a lovesick puppy.
No, Bruce and I still write each other. We're friends. It's Jeff, though. Mom, he's different.
How so?
Oh, he's sensitive.
Oh, you want to be watching those sensitive types. Those ones can end up batting for the other team.
No, Mom, he's not like that. No. Jeff's funny, and he's charming. Oh, God. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to go anywhere yet, but he's from New York and he's invited me to go up there over the summer break.
Oh, that'll be nice. But you just take your time. I know you're going to end up with a wonderful man, Sandy. Oh, you could take him up the Empire State. Oh, it's such a shame you'll not be around for our wedding anniversary this year. It's hard to believe it will have been 27 years next month.
Whoa, yeah. Do you guys have anything special planned for the 4th?
I think I'm going to paint this side of the house. The weather has been so nice lately.
Paint this side of the house, Mom. On your wedding anniversary.
Oh, why not? It's one of the few days I can be sure to get any peace. Now, you will be careful out here. There's been a lot of trouble at some of the campuses recently.
Really? I've not heard about any trouble.
Well, I heard that you had that Jerry Rubin up here speaking the other week.
Oh, God, I didn't go to that, Mom. And anyways, he was collecting money for some trial out in Chicago. This talk of like revolution and all that, but I've noticed that most of the people that go on about that stuff, they're the same ones that never get any work done and they just want to get high all the time.
Well, it's just, how your grandma worries. I want to be able to tell her that you'll stay away from those rallies.
Mom, those things are no interest to me. I'll let others go and save the world. I just want to help people right here, okay? Hey, do you want to stay for dinner?
Oh, no, I better get back before your father tries making his homemade Wiener Schnitzel recipe and destroys the kitchen again. Oh, that reminds me, before you go, I bought you a couple of things.
What? What is this? Clothes? You should have told me if you were going shopping. I would have come with you.
Well, I didn't think we'd have the time. Besides, have I ever picked you out something you don't like?
Nope, you have not. Oh, Mom. I love it. It'll go so well with the jeans you bought me.
Yeah, I thought so too.
I'm going to wear it when it's your wedding anniversary, so you know that I'm thinking about you.
Oh. Well, we'd best be getting back if we're going to beat this traffic. Now, you be sure to call us if you need anything at all.
I will. Enjoy your anniversary, Mom. Oh, and tell Odds to call me when she's not too busy with that pet snake of theirs.
I've got one daughter with a pet python and one... Well, I just know you're going to end up doing something really special with your life. I'll see you in a few weeks.
Sure thing, Mom. Hey, thanks for the top. I love it. I can't tell you how lucky I was with my family. I had the best mom and the best dad and the best sister in the world. My mom, she would blame herself for years to come for giving me that red top, convincing herself that I was picked out of the crowd by someone thinking better dead than red. Maybe. But Allison wasn't wearing red. Neither was Billy or Jeff. I would visit her whenever I could, and I would whisper in her ear that it wasn't her fault. And she did grow stronger over time, and she stayed an active member of our tale until the very end. Now, it's time for me to hand over the telling of the tale to the living. My name is Sandra Lee Scheuer, and I was an honors student at Kent State University, where I majored in speech therapy. It was the first time that I had ever been away from home, and I just wanted to make my parents and sister proud. I was not part of any anti-war movement, nor had I ever attended a single demonstration or protest in my life. I was walking to my next class when a bullet from an M1 Garand rifle struck me in the neck. This weapon, it was fired by a member of the Ohio National Guard. I bled out and died in the ambulance before it could get me to the hospital. I was 20 years old. But before I go, I would like to leave you with a few words that my sister Audrey wrote me back in 2018. I so wish that I had the opportunity to tell her how much they meant to me. One day I'll do that. We haven't seen each other for 50-some years now, but she has a special place in my heart that will never go away. I can't wait for the day that I will see her again. And we'll laugh as we always used to laugh. You couldn't ask for a more caring sister than Audrey. This is what she wrote me. It's only short. I will keep you in my heart forever. I think of you and smile. I take you to my dreams. I know you left me some 50 years ago or so, but I do not love you any less. I take you to my dreams, and I will keep you in my heart forever. Audrey, you're in my heart forever too. From now until the end of time.
That concludes the fourth part of 13 Seconds in Kent State. Please tune in at the same time this coming Tuesday, May the 4th, for the 51st anniversary at 8 p.m. BST, 3 p.m. EST, 2 p.m. CST, 12 p.m. PST, for the live performance of the final episode performed by the Outcasts Creative. Thank you.